Good morning.
Good morning.
My apologies. This is the first time I started the meeting late in about 20 years. So, again, my apologies. Welcome to meeting number 323 of TMG Dayton, the MAC group. And we've got an interesting set of stuff that we're going to be doing today. All right, first thing, agenda. We're going to stick with the same old agenda. First we do the welcome. Mr. Leal, do we have any visitors or guests today?
I don't think so.
No?
I haven't
Okay.
inquired.
And you're doing good? You're not coughing on everybody today?
No, not today.
Excellent.
Took some meds.
So we'll consider the welcome done, and we'll move on to news. Does anybody have any items that they've run into, news items? I think we'll keep you for help desk. And going once, going twice. Okay, I'll add two things. One is an honest item that Apple has released the iPhone in a new color. You ready? Yellow. Yellow.
Only certain iPhones.
And you can buy them now. They're on the store.
Only certain iPhones. though.
Only certain iPhones, that's correct. Because yellow is a very special color.
Which doesn't apply to the pros, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Non-pros.
The second thing is not quite a rumor, because I've gotten verification from a couple of different sources, but their VP of hardware had said in a conference call that they are production testing a new iMac now. So that means we've got a new iMac that's probably going to be available, I don't think in late spring, I think it's going to be in the fall when they release it. When they say production testing, that means they're working on the tooling, the actual production process. So they know what they want to build, they're just getting everything lined up. My understanding, the new iMac may be the first thing that they're building in India completely. So we'll see what that's all about. Does anybody else have any other news items they want to share? Keep in mind, no politics, no religion, and if it's finance, it's got to be related to the tech industry. Going once, going twice. Okay, I'll add another item. I guess I'm going to set a share of the day. There's a small bank in California called Silicon Valley Bank.
Was.
Yeah.
And people always want to step on my lines. And this was the place for VCs, venture capitalists, and high-tech companies, whether they're already publicly traded or they want to be publicly traded, to be doing their finances. And they did a little oopsie. They had a problem with their 3-year bonds that they had, and they announced the problem before they had secured the additional financing to bolster their books. And because they got the cart before the horse, all of those customers that they had served so well, all those venture capitalists, run on the bank. Run on the bank. And so now they've been closed, and the feds are looking to, not the Federal Reserve, but this would be Janet Yellen, maybe it is the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, the Fed Reserve took it over.
Be the Federal Reserve, right? Yeah, okay.
But that's
Like
what insures
Powell
it.
doesn't
They
have
insure
enough
it. They insure it
insurance.
up to, what is it, 300,000, whatever the number is.
250.
Whatever that number is, that's how much money they've guaranteed to deposit.
Yeah, but the problem is, if, let's say you're a company like Roku, and you have $53 million on deposit at the bank.
And you can't make payroll.
Yeah, okay. Or let's say you're another small company like Google, where you've got $150 million in the bank. You know, that could cause the bump in the road. So we're going to see what happens. It may involve other banking institutions. So just to give you sort of a perspective, this is the 16th largest bank in the US. So it's larger than Fifth Third, it's larger than,
Recording in progress.
and, well, it'll be interesting days. Okay, let me just close that. Okay, moving right along. Anybody else, any other news items, any other stuff going on, going once, going twice? Everybody's looking bored, not awake. I hope you drink coffee before you come in. But you know, if you don't participate, then we have to start to reach out and have people, you know, selected to talk.
Oh, I know one.
Oh, thank
This
you.
may be good for everybody here. They just announced that at the end of the month, you'll be able to get the Apple Music Classical version of Apple Music. So there's an app, they actually created a separate app,
Oh,
but it's
wow.
part of Apple Music. So the classical thing that they bought, remember they bought that company, Feltronics or whatever the name of it was? They bought this company a year and a half ago. They gave people that had subscribed to that service 6 months worth of Apple Music, saying there was going to be a new classical music app on Apple. So now in the App Store, you can actually pre-order the app.
Mhm.
But it will be available the 28th or something like that. It'll be strictly classical musical, and you can search by title, by number, there's all kinds of ways you can search, but it'll be all the classical music, a lot of stuff that they're going to be exclusive on. It's looking pretty cool. If you're into classical music, you may want to check it out. There's lots of articles on the internet about this.
So that would be one of the last promises that Steve Jobs made. Because when iTunes was released, the first kvetch that came down the pipe was all the classical music people were saying, you're breaking it into small pieces, I can't do the ring cycle and, you know, all that. And Steve Jobs said he'd get his people on it and they'd get something out real soon.
They've been working on it for a long time.
Yeah.
And they've been promising this app for a year and a half. And so, but it's I forget what it's going to be called, but it's in the Apple Store. You can view it in the App Store. You can look at it now. But it will be, before you can actually get it, it's like 2 more weeks.
Maybe Apple Classical Music
Maybe, but I don't think so. Let me
or
look.
CM, ACM.
I'll look.
All right, so I'm going to say we're done with the news. HomeKit Minute. You're making me feel guilty here. He's walking with a bum ankle? Achilles.
That's painful.
Need to switch
You've
me over.
got your priority seating up front.
Need to
So want me to
switch
switch
over.
it?
Yeah, wait. So, not getting too political here, but my first topic is just a slight warning for those people that have Ring products. If you're not aware, Ring is a subsidiary or is owned by Amazon. And this article is about a year old, almost a year old, and it talks about the propensity of Ring to claim, because Ring has all of their video on their servers and not locally stored. Ring has, you know, when this article was published back in July of last year, they had already given 11 different files to authorities without the owner's consent. So just to let you know that if you have a Ring product, that this precedent has been going for quite a while, and this doesn't apply to a secure Apple Secure video, but if you just have a Ring product, whether it's a doorbell or some other product, they have a propensity to ignore some civil rights. So just thought I'd pass that on.
Can I add something to that?
Go ahead.
One of the problems that make that issue very egregious was the fella that had those, one of the cameras was mounted inside his house, not on the exterior.
That's what's crazy about that story.
Yeah, and they, even though that violates Amazon's user, EULA. You know, they're not supposed to do anything that's inside. So something to think about. That's why I'm very much, if you want to do Internet of Things, I'm very much that you're hosting your own data, that you're not posting it on a server somewhere. Because once you have your data somewhere else, you don't have control over it. Okay, I'm done bloviating.
Okay. Well, if you have any more concerns or questions, please see me at the break. So last month I talked about how Chamberlain had swapped out my garage door monitor and the remote operator. So this is what they sent me. This is the new product. And, you know, I installed it a couple of weeks ago, and it took me probably about 3 hours to install it because the software that they use is not the best. Let's put it that way. The software is designed to work specifically with their app, and then you have to buy a hub to get it to connect to the HomeKit. So you have to have not only these two devices. The smaller box is the sensor that mounts to the door and tells the big box whether the door is open or closed. And if you just have these two products by themselves and the MyQ app, you can control it through MyQ app, but it's not interfaced with Siri or with the HomeKit device. So you have to have a third box that, in my case, mounts to the wall in the garage and then connects to Wi-Fi and to HomeKit. So
And why did they swap out your box?
the sensor, the small box, was not communicating. And so the old stuff is over there on the freebie table. If somebody wants to, it's free. If somebody wants to try it out, it works with any Chamberlain, LiftMaster. There's maybe like 24 garage door openers that it compatible with. And I mean, it was still working, but it just wasn't consistent. But it could be just my location, because I am 200 feet from a radio tower. So if you install this device, you can, you know, I can say, hey Siri, what's the status of my garage door?
Your garage door is closed.
So it's pretty convenient, and even with just these two devices, you can always, you know, did I close the garage door? You know, you can always check, make sure that it is closed, but you just can't interface with Siri or with HomeKit. So if anybody wants to try it out, be my guest, and you will need the separate hub, which was about $99, I think. So
And is the hub a Chamberlain device or a MyQ
Yes.
device? Or?
no, the hub is a specific Chamberlain box. So it's also a MyQ product. So
Okay, quick question.
Yeah.
Last month and the month before, you talked about the new protocols that all the different manufacturers are going to start using. Is that going to simplify this stuff, or are we still going to have to buy that extra set of kit all the time to?
well, it's all totally up to the manufacturer and whether they decide to write the extra pieces of code to include Matter compatibility.
Okay.
But it's something that should be much simpler with Matter than it was before, writing specifically for HomeKit. So they can use their old code and just insert whatever, you know, items that are needed specifically to interface with Matter.
So the last question I have is if any of the members are interested in getting into Internet of Things and doing this sort of stuff, can they use you as a resource if they're gentle and kind?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, that's it today. Thanks.
Bill, Bill.
Source. Watch your foot. No tripping.
Bill, you were really close. It's Apple Music Classical.
Apple Music Classical.
That's the name of the app.
Okay. Okay. Just point of order, when he was doing the presentation about Internet of Things and I was picking up the remote, we were switching between an Apple TV, so his iPad was talking to an Apple TV that was plugged into the projector, so different source. So then I switched back to using the MacBook Pro as the source. So we're really getting, wow. I don't know, what's the thing? We're gonna have propeller beanies pretty soon. Multicolored, they'll be in Apple colors too. All right, so with that said, we're done with HomeKit Minute. Now we're gonna go freebies and wanted for sale. He already said that he's got a freebie on the table, which is his broken kit that he doesn't want anymore, but he'll let you have it at little or no cost to you.
So there's also Fabaro light and motion sensor on there.
Okay,
It functions, but it's just not compatible with the most recent version of iOS.
okay, okay. Does anybody else have anything else that they brought with that they want, that they meant for the freebie table? Did anybody have anything that they're selling? Ah,
I have sort of the opposite. I was looking to buy. I'm looking if anybody has an older 12-inch MacBook or an M1. Obviously, the price would be different to negotiate, but I'm just looking for a second laptop that would either be an M1 Air or a 12-inch MacBook because I think they're neat. So if anybody just has one taking up space, I would buy it off them for whatever is reasonable.
okay.
How old do you want it?
I'm pretty much looking for a 2017 MacBook 12 because they're neat and thin, or just an M1 Air that someone is upgrading to an M2 or it's extra or they don't need it or whatever.
I've got 3 or 4 2008. So.
Yeah, yeah,
The refurbished one, that's a great price, it's on the Amazon.
Okay.
yeah, I saw that, I was trying to
That's
find
how I
it.
did mine, I bought
Okay,
one.
Yeah.
anybody else?
Yeah, I looked at it the other day.
When you want something, make sure you send an email
Okay.
to
Get it
Mark
on the books.
so that he can send it out. So that way the people who didn't attend or they're in
Okay.
Zoom land and they didn't pay attention will know about it too. And let's see, for sale, wanted, freebies, I think we're done there. Now, are you ready? Help desk. But before I take a question, I've got somebody in the front row who wants to tell you about what he learned about doing.
It's tax time, right? So I was trying to do my Ohio taxes on iFile. Okay, I've done that for a couple years. And I was using Safari as the browser. That's the problem. You can do your Ohio taxes, but you can't use Safari. It's just not compatible with their software. I've gone back and forth with them once, and they allow there's a problem. They're gonna fix it next year. Okay. So, but if you use Firefox, for instance, or if you happen to have Chrome, you'd be fine. I did mine in Firefox, but it's kind of a tricky little problem in as much as you can, it pretends to do it for quite a while, and then all of a sudden, you want to type in your phone number, and it just doesn't fit into the box. So anyway, Safari is bad for Ohio taxes. I used it on the federal taxes without a problem.
Okay.
And I had a little bit of a glitch in putting in dates, like you want to put my birth date 0309, whatever, and it would truncate it, but I worked around that and I filed and I've gotten a return using
Do you
Safari.
remember how you worked around it?
We didn't want-
Think on that.
Yeah,
So-
I don't remember. I had to futz with it quite a bit though.
You see the thumb? The rule of thumb, when you're doing financial stuff, like a bank or your stockbroker, or you're doing iFile, you're better off using a Firefox, a Google Chrome, or a Microsoft Edge. Don't, if you still have Internet Explorer, just don't. Don't use Internet Explorer. So that's Microsoft Edge, which is based on Chromium, Google Chrome, which is based on Chromium, and Firefox, which is it WebKit or Chromium?
It's neither.
It's neither, they're
It's
their
their own
own.
engine.
Yeah,
It's
because
an
that's the
escape.
Mozilla. Yeah, okay. All right, so, next item. We have a member who was rummaging in their desk drawer, and they found a dongle, a USB dongle, that's part of a software-defined radio device. So if anybody is into software-defined radio, we got any hams in the room, or in the Zoom audience, let us know and we'll direct you to that person. Okay, now it's your meeting again. Kathy Wassenich.
I want to know what printer device would print from an iPad and an iPhone?
Okay. Typically, you want something that says AirPrint on the box. Brother makes some, Canon makes some, HP makes some. Who am I missing? Epson makes some. So you're looking for, on the outside of the box, AirPrint. AirPrint.
Or anyone better than the other? Are they pretty equal?
Everyone I've
What are you
worked
printing?
Pictures
If you're printing,
Epson.
if you're printing pictures,
and articles. I'm a nurse too, so I download nursing articles too.
So you're printing what kind of stuff? Just text, articles?
Color, black and white.
But mostly that black, white, and color.
If your budget covers it, you want to go with a xerographic printer, not an inkjet printer. They'll be a little bit more expensive than the inkjets, but you'll save it over time when you're buying toner instead of inkjet ink. Brother is pretty nice. I like Brother. Epson, I don't like Epson because it's like all I ever see is the broken Epsons.
Brothers are a good balance because they're not quite laser printers. They're what are called LED printers. They're pseudo laser printers. So you get the cycle life and you get the toner convenience and you get away from the evil sort of inkjet beggary and
Those are the
sort of
ones for the
grossness.
refill.
Yeah, so Brothers are pseudo laser printers and I think that's a pretty good compromise. So
Anybody else? Going once, going twice. How many of you have laser, real honest-to-God laser printers at home that use Xerox, xerographic? Okay. What brand do you have?
Brother.
What brand do you have? What brand do you have?
I got a old brand, Lexmark.
Okay.
HP.
HP? Okay.
I'd never go back.
Okay. Never go back to,
I'd never go back.
to ink, no, don't. You're paying more for that, well, doesn't matter. Just inkjet is not a good, it's not a good way to go from the cost perspective. Yes, George?
I guess I'd like to argue with you about that a little bit. I have an Epson with the containers that you fill with ink.
Tank.
It
Okay.
doesn't,
New
it
stuff.
doesn't have cartridges.
Oh, the tanks.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
tanks.
the new
Yeah,
stuff.
that's a different deal.
Yeah, I don't know, it's been a couple years ago, I bought an Epson like that,
Yeah.
filled the tanks up. They gave me several tubes of ink.
Yeah,
I still haven't only gotten about halfway through the,
okay.
through one tank.
That is an exception. The other thing is, does anybody do large format printing? Like large format printing? Yeah. If you can go the tank route with those, you're gonna be way ahead of the game. Because I've seen large, like you're printing a poster. I've seen HPs go through 2 sets of cartridges doing one
HP has a chip on their cartridges that even though there's plenty of ink left in the cartridge, it times out.
Yeah.
And it'll keep giving you an error saying this is expired. If you continue to use it, you will void your warranty.
Yeah.
There's a relevant news article, speaking of news, HP just pushed a firmware to all their models within the last few days.
Yeah.
That made them explicitly reject third-party cartridges at a new degree of severity.
Yeah.
So it was in the news just the last couple of days, that whatever they were doing, which was draconian enough, they took up a notch.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so with that said, anybody else got a help desk thing? Okay.
I've got a question on editorial scan documents. I understand my computer has a native capability to insert text blocks to put information on a Word document. I'd like to be able to scan complete documents, and I guess that goes to a PDF format. And
Yeah.
I looked at the Apple Store, and looked like two of them that was pretty favorable were PDF Reader Pro for free, and then another one $59.95. I couldn't tell the difference.
Oh, so basically you want to modify PDFs?
Yes, the entire
Arrow
document.
do that, or, what's the one that's built in?
Adobe Acrobat.
No, the one,
Preview.
preview. You can annotate PDF documents using preview, which is built into your Mac.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just, I think you go over to tools, down tools to annotate, and then, it's probably not great for production work, but
Here, let me do this real quick. So I'm going to take the agenda document, which is a text edit document,
Okay,
and I'm going to export it as a PDF,
okay.
and I'm going to say save. Now I'm going to just hit the little yellow dot so that that goes away. I'm going to bring up Finder. I'm doing iCloud here, folks, so I got to go to iCloud Drive. Come on, iCloud Drive, go into preview. So there's that agenda item that I just created as a PDF. I'm opening it in preview. Now, up here where it says Tools, right in the middle it says Annotate.
Okay,
So what do you want me to do? You want me to put like a arrow on it? Do you want me to put underlined text? Do you want me to create text?
yeah, just change the
Because you
date.
got all these different choices in there. Let's do text. So there I've got a text box that's been created. Yep, I gotta click on it, resize it, and then I put in what I want. Oh, wait here.
Yeah, I've been able to do that on forms, but can I edit the whole document?
change March to April, for example,
Yeah, right.
as a poster child.
Excuse me.
You have to put a fill behind your text.
I mean, you can hide it, like, basically
Yeah.
digital whiteout.
Yeah.
Just put fill in the text
Yeah,
that you wrote.
what I usually do is I output it I save it as a text file from preview, edit it as a text file, and then bring it back as a PDF.
I guess I lost.
Convert it back so you can edit it.
Yeah.
PDF to the text, edit the text, then convert it back. Just like he converted it from text this way, you can do it the other direction too.
Keeping in mind that not all PDFs have electronic text in them. Some of them, they've like taken a picture of stuff and shoved it into the PDF. An example would be an IRS 1040 form. They don't want you messing with the verbiage. So that's like a picture and you're putting your text on top
Okay.
of the picture in the different fill blocks that they have.
I would never know as a user whether whether I can edit it or not, based on what you're saying.
Okay, so basically you just, yeah,
Go ahead, I was just gonna add something when you're done.
okay. But if you just want like a Swiss Army knife, working with PDFs, how are people with Adobe Acrobat Air or Adobe Acrobat DC?
Yeah, I mean, Adobe really wants you to buy full Acrobat, so
Yeah,
TC is
they
not
want you to
really-
buy Pro.
Yeah, and I think Apple, what's funny is Apple could have very easily built that functionality into Preview if they wanted. But they didn't, I think, because they don't want to step on vendors' toes.
Okay, remember, Apple started out, they owned 30% of Adobe in the early years. They still own 10% of Adobe. They have never completely divested of Adobe, so, you know, that would be like them hurting Clarisworks.
Yes. And which is, without digressing too much, the Mac rendering engine is PDF based, so it's native to the.
So let me do this, third-party applications.
That's what I was gonna talk about. There's a company called Mencheck, and they have desktop versions of this software. It's called Bluebeam. I use it every day. But there's also, I mean, the desktop version is a couple $100.
Yeah.
But they have the same version for an iPad or phone, $20 app, does the same exact thing. So if you're limited to a desktop, that may not be your solution, but I use the Bluebeam app all the time in my iPad.
What was it, Mencheck, you said?
The company that publishes it's called the Mencheck, but the software is called Bluebeam.
Okay, I'm gonna be radical here, I'm gonna bring up this would be for your desktop, right?
Laptop.
Okay, so let's go to the App Store and just see what they have in the way of PDF stuff.
Yeah, a lot of Reddit threads mention PDF Expert as well.
It's a really good one. I know a friend who uses it, he really loves it.
Okay.
Hey, go over here, I need the space. PDF editor. And we'll say, hey, go look. I'm just looking to see if there's anything that I recall being. Sort by,
I went to the business category and it had a much shorter listing, maybe because they were promoted or promotional. I went to the business category.
Yeah, it's amazing how much stuff is
yeah,
at the top.
I don't really see anything that, you know, typically I'm using an Affinity Publisher or Microsoft Publisher when I'm doing that kind of stuff. And that gets a little pricey. Okay, so the question I have is there some way the group could be more efficient with these kinds of questions? Like maybe adding them to the meeting notes? What do you think?
I made a suggestion to Rick a while back.
Yeah.
He had something like, I get on the Nextdoor network occasionally, and there's a lot of garbage on there, but I also get good clues on who's a good person to do your yard work, who's a good person to paint your house.
Yeah.
Is there some way to have our own little social network where somebody can raise a question and then anybody who has information can respond to it?
There's a Mac user group up in Maine, which is Moose, they have a thing they call MooseNet. And what they do is you email in, now we already have our help desk email, so you email into the help desk email, they then repackage it and they send it out once every 2 weeks, all the questions, and people can reply to it with their thoughts and answers. But it's only their members, and select people that they've conned into answering questions for them, which is why I get MooseNet. But we could do that.
You said select people, how is that selection made? I was envisioning kind of an open thing and you make your own judgment as to the credibility
The
of it.
person who's running MooseNet used to be a member of TMG Dayton. And he said, hey, Bill, I got a question for you. The next thing I know, I'm finding out that this thing is appearing in their MooseNet.
Well, Mark, do you do something like that now, screening it and sending it? If I send you a question.
I don't screen them, I just send it out.
To everybody? or
No,
We
To
could
Bill.
start a Discord
Yeah.
server.
Ooh, I like that.
Discord anyway.
I think a Discord server for that just was like, for the whole thing would be great, because you could coordinate stuff. We could hit each other up for all
Okay.
kinds of little.
Who
bits and
knows
bobs.
about Discord?
Either Discord or Telegram. We could do
I'd
it.
say Discord.
Discord's
because
the
it's
best.
so pervasive.
Okay.
It is a real-time collaborative.
I need 3 adults in the room that are willing to go look at it and figure out whether it's a way to go and what it would cost and all that other
It
good
won't
stuff.
cost anything. It won't cost anything. I tell you what, I can do it I can do it as my first act as an active person.
Since I
all
don't
right,
get
now
on.
now you're being recorded, you know.
And Aaron, could you check that stuff out for me?
It
I
would be
use it a lot.
free.
I use it all the time. It's great.
Yeah. It would be
Okay.
free, and it could be way more people than this group even.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
and since there's only 2 of you, we don't have 3, it's not a committee,
Okay.
okay?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Well, we
And
can
you got Rick's email?
Yeah, from the thing,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, either of us could have it set up before this meeting
Okay,
is over.
this may actually be a good thing.
And I can close out my question relying on Rick's advice.
Yeah, like, we could just have a few channels.
Okay,
like
but
a channel.
remember, just because we're an established group doesn't mean we can't do new things. And just because this is how we always did it, doesn't mean
Is
that's
there a
how we
specific
have to do
URL
it.
then they have to
Oh,
go
dog,
to? How's it
tricks,
work?
I understand.
So the way it works
And I'm
is you go to the
channeling
Discord
one of
front door,
a
and then-
lady that I had as a professor, Grace Hopper, and I remember her saying in the class,
So
when
there's
they
the
say,
URL, which is
but
unique,
we always did
and
it
then
that
once you're in
way,
You just go in
it
and
almost
Discord, and it's
always
sort of
means
links.
they're doing
There's
it
an
wrong.
URL that's the originating, like, wanna join, go to this.
She's
person,
also famous for the saying about,
hashed URL.
it's easier to apologize than to get permission.
You usually get a QR code for it too.
But then-
Scan.
Yeah.
But then she was in the Navy. She wasn't in an enlightened service like the Air Force. Okay, let me get back to my. Text edit, there we go. Okay, so anybody else got anything for help desk? Going once, going twice? Okay, I'm gonna say help desk is done. We've got 2 people that are gonna explore a question for us about Discord and Telegram. Maybe we could just do it on TikTok. Private, right? No?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Let's not.
And I think it's time for us to do the raffle.
But they use
Okay,
Gonna be doing
I'm gonna say,
We're gonna start. Here we go.
get George to sit down. Get Kathy to move. Get Candy to sit down. I remember there was one other item I wanted to tell you about during news that I forgot. February was another year where they sold more vinyl records than they sold CDs.
Yeah, I was on the news.
I'll tell you, if this trend keeps up, I'm gonna go clean up all those turntables I've got. I'm thinking I could sell these to the Z crowd.
Yeah, the
Make
hipsters.
some money. Okay. You ready to resume?
Well, they didn't say how many digital or, electronic versions of music they sold. That probably was even far more than all the other ones put together.
Now it's
Yes, that
streaming.
would probably be true.
Now it's streaming. You'll see billboards say like, gold record, 500 million
But if
streams.
you go to the flea markets, you can see there's always people selling a bunch of,
Oh, forget the flea market. You come to me, I've got a basement full of vinyl records.
well, I got a few myself.
It's Willy Wonka. I thought of
White Album,
precisely.
Beatles.
I thought of precisely one thing since visiting your basement, which is going back to your basement. It's like Disney World. It's like Willy Wonka town.
So just to share with the rest of the group, Aaron got a tour of my basement. And he actually was able to find his way out.
I've tried to account from memory for other people, the things that I saw there, and it is unbelievable.
I posted just some pictures of the racks of stuff that I've got. You know, like multiple mountain music systems.
It's crazy.
And I had people on Facebook telling me that they were fake, that I didn't really have this stuff. That's okay. It's time to clear some of this stuff out. Okay, I'm just checking who we got. Are we good in terms of Zoom at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start it up. Okay, so you're going to see the presenter view because my notes, I don't have Microsoft Office on this laptop, so I'm using Keynote, and I want to be able to see my presenter notes. So that way you get to see the current slide and the slide that's coming up next. So the topic is Apple Find My Services, features, benefits, and criticisms. And as it says up there, this presentation provides an overview of Apple's Find My services, including compatible devices, features, setting up, and benefits. It also discusses some of the criticisms of the service. Okay, so at this point, should we go and Find My? What is this? Okay, so Apple has these apps and other services that are called Find My. Originally, they were called Find My iPhone, and later on it became more devices, so they just made it more generic, and they just call it Find My. And it's a suite of features and technologies designed to help users locate, track, and protect their Apple devices. Okay, that sounds interesting. Okay, brief overview of how it works. The first one is the Find My app. So this is an app that's going to be on your device. It uses either GPS, Wi-Fi, and or cellular data to pinpoint the location of the device on the map. So, you know, if you've got an iPhone, it's got cellular and it's got Wi-Fi capabilities. And it has, to a certain extent, it's got sort of a fake GPS, so being able to locate a phone might be important. And then there's the Find My network, which uses Bluetooth signals to locate nearby devices, even if they're not connected to Wi-Fi or cellular networks. The way that that's implemented is through an Apple device called AirTags. AirTags, where you can put an AirTag on something like your coffee cup. You know, you want to locate your coffee cup, or your set of car keys, or your luggage, or maybe a package that you're sending overseas. You'll be able to track it to see where it is. And then another one is family sharing, which allows users to pinpoint family members' locations. Okay, and again, you have to give your permission for that. And so overall, using Apple Find My services is important for protecting personal data, ensuring the safety and well-being of family members, and locating lost or stolen devices. Okay, so now we're going to move on to what devices are compatible with Apple Find My services. All right, iPhones, iPads, iPod Touches, MacBooks, MacBook Airs, MacBook Pros, iMacs, iMac Pros, Mac Minis, Mac Pros, Apple Watches, AirPods, and AirTags. And there's other things that they have coming down the pike that can also be seen, but they're still in the mind of
Like
Tim
the
Cook
Studio,
at this point.
it's not on that list.
Hmm?
The Studio, Mac Studio, it's not on that
Mac
list.
Studio is part of the, well, it's not really part of the Mac Mini family. Yeah, Mac Studio. So I'll add that to the presentation. And then there's also third-party devices that you can use this with. Typically, they're either made by Belkin or Chipolo products, and there's just a limited number of those with Find My technology built in. Thing to keep in mind is that not all Apple devices are compatible with Find My features. So if you've got an iMac from 2002 running Snow Leopard, you're probably not going to be able to locate it using Find My technology because it's running an older operating system, and you won't have the Find My app on that Mac that's running Snow Leopard. Okay, so features of Apple Find My services. Locating devices using the Find My app, locating devices using the Find My network, enabling activation lock, sharing location with family members using family sharing, locating lost devices using lost mode. So, looking at my notes here, you've got device location, the ability to locate Apple devices on a map using either the Find My app or the iCloud.com website. Remember last month when I was doing the iCloud.com website? So that means that if you've lost something and you don't have another Apple device with Find My app on it, you can borrow somebody else's PC or laptop or phone, something that's got a web browser, log into the iCloud.com website, and be able to locate a device. Then there's the lost mode. It's the ability to remotely lock a lost device with a passcode, display a custom message on the lock screen, and or track its location. You lost something, it's a phone, you want to get it back. If you put it into lost mode, somebody tries to open the phone and it's going to get the message, hey, this is lost, please call this number, let me know, and you have some ability, if it's turned on, to be able to track it. Find My network, the ability to use the network of nearby Apple devices to locate a lost device, even if it's not connected to Wi-Fi or cellular data. That's that AirTag technology. So that AirTag is broadcasting via Bluetooth, hey, I'm an AirTag, and I'm hooked to so-and-so's luggage. Well, it's going to talk to other Apple devices, and using that Find My network, that information can get sent back to you so you can find out where is that device. Then we have the family sharing. So if you've got your Apple IDs in a family sharing plan, they're able to track you if you have said yes, and you're able to track them, anyone in a family sharing group. Typically, this is done when you've got everybody's on a family plan for the cell phone. You put them on family sharing so that they're an Apple ID. You've got one Apple ID that's controlling the purchases and of the other Apple IDs, sort of like the adult and the kids. So in my case, my wife is the adult and I'm the kid. And because you've got that enabled, you're able to track other devices. You're able to track people. Then there's activation lock, which is the ability to prevent unauthorized access to your device by requiring your Apple ID and password, and you can erase it. So you've got data on the device, you can remotely erase it even though you've lost it, and you can require them to have your Apple ID to be able to reactivate it.
Somebody else, is anybody else online? Kathy, you muted? Somebody else online? Change volume. Feedback.
Derek,
Okay.
Turn it off.
I just muted him.
You gotta get out.
Okay. You got it?
Got it,
You-
Derek.
Okay. See, this is one of the nice things about Zoom. You can control things. The only thing that you really can't control is if someone's using an inappropriate video as their backdrop. Okay, so moving right on, then you've got, so activation lock, you can actually lock the device and remotely erase it. You know, the cops confiscated your phone, you said, no. Get in there, activation lock, and then erase it. Yeah, all you got is bare metal now, guys. Okay, then you've got offline finding. So there's a switch you can turn on in iOS and that. So even though the device is turned off, when they're turning, the phone has been lost or stolen. But let me just stipulate that. They turn it off. If offline finding has been turned on, even though it's off, it will broadcast to you the last location it was when they turned it off. And if they turn it back on, you get a notification that it's been turned back on. Way cool. And that's the notify when found, the ability to receive a notification when a device is located, and last but not least, AirTag integration. So the ability to locate AirTags, these are small Bluetooth devices that can be attached to keys, bags, cars, pets, other people, all sorts of things you can do with it.
And the AirTag uses the other available Apple devices in the vicinity to transmit the message or transmit the information.
Okay, don't quite follow. Say it again.
It's Bluetooth to the nearest Apple device.
Right,
How
when
does
you're
it get
doing
back
the
to you?
AirTag stuff, the Find Me network,
Right.
these things are like talking to anything that's Apple around them.
Whether you own it or not. But
Right, whether you own it or not, but you don't know about it, it's being broadcast and that information is being sent to Apple.
And the
If I log
device-
in and say I lost my AirTag, it will start it'll start looking for it and let me know when it finds it.
It may be using somebody else's
It
device
definitely
to
is
do it.
somebody
It's
else.
gonna use
Other
some Apple.
device that's
Yeah,
being
so
used,
right
do they
now,
have access
at
to
least
that
this whole
information?
meeting, there is a hidden underworld of all our devices sending little things to each other saying, here I am, here I am, here I am. It's heavily encrypted, only Apple can read it, and it sends its way upwards like a giant tree to the root, which is Apple. And so when you say, where the heck is my luggage? It knows because down through that tree of devices, all the way down to the bitty bottom, one of those devices was on iCloud. And even if your tag is not, and all it has is little baby Bluetooth, and all it's doing is Bluetooth just a few feet away, as long as it loops into anybody who's a few feet away, it sends an encrypted thing that says, here I am, and it works its way back home, and eventually finds someone with real internet, and gets it to Apple.
And the keyword was encrypted, so you can't.
Heavily, heavily, heavily.
You can't use
Right.
that.
We're, all our devices right now are actually handling sensitive information about each other's Find My information, but is encrypted 99 ways to Sunday.
Okay, so, is your brain? Okay, so let's talk about benefits and drawbacks. Okay, so benefits. So Find My allows you to locate lost or stolen Apple devices, iPads, iPhones, Macs, you put your phone, it's somewhere in the house. But with Find My, you can locate it. And there's a couple different ways you can do that. And so that can help you recover a device and prevent your personal information from getting in the wrong place. It also means that you don't have to embarrass yourself by saying to your spouse, hey, have you seen my phone? You can, using the Find My app, tell it to play a sound. Okay. So if it's like an iPad, normally you could call a phone, but if it's an iPad, you can't really call an iPad, but you could tell it to play a sound or tell your watch to play a sound, and you go like, oh, yep, there it is, okay. With the Find My, you can share your location with family members who are part of your iCloud family sharing group. So this is great for coordinating meetups and whatever. You're in the store that you need like a map to, a big store. And you're going like, I hope the wife doesn't leave without me because she's got the car keys. Well, you can do the, where is she? And then be able to locate her, and there you go. Finding misplaced AirPods, those things go lost a lot. iPhones and other accessories that support Find My technology. And then last but not least, that Find My network, that crowdsourced network of Apple devices.
Didn't Apple recently use this technology when they got robbed?
Yes.
Are you talking about when those people backed that car into and broke the doors on the Apple store at the Green?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's why was it the Beaver Creek or Bellbrook Police that
Beaver Creek.
I think it was Beaver Creek.
Then
Yeah,
they find
got
all that
most
stuff
of
up in
back
Trotwood.
pretty quick. It's also why it's not a good idea to steal iPhones. Steal an Android. You're a lot better off. Criticisms of Apple Find My services. Okay. So the first thing that comes to mind is privacy. George? You don't have any. Okay. Apple has done some stuff with the privacy concerns. So people have raised concerns about the amount of data that's collected by Apple through Find My services and how that data is used. They have, there are also concerns about the potential or government surveillance or other forms of data misuse. Well, Apple has made it very clear that they, unless you're providing warrants for information, they're not going to give it to you. Unlike other companies like Amazon, Google, who else am I? Microsoft, where it's like, yeah, what do you want? No, you don't need a warrant. Here. You want their emails? Here you go. You want to know where they are right now? Here you go. You want to know what they've been searching for their entire life? Here you go. Apple doesn't do that. Limited compatibility, so, there are people that complain, well, I can't use Apple Find My services to locate my Samsung Galaxy phone. Well, it's not an Apple device. Okay, but you could put an AirTag on it and then be able to locate it. All right, and then reliance on network connectivity, that these things have to be connected to a network somehow, some way. Apple has tried to work around that a little bit by having that last known location and having that notification when they turn it on and they've connected to the network. So it's important to weigh these factors when deciding whether to use the service or not. With great benefits come drawbacks. You have to be aware of what's going on. So now we're going to go to the conclusion. Find My services are a useful set of features. While there are potential criticisms of the service, Apple has taken steps to address those issues and improve the overall functionality of the service. And the Find My setup is a relatively simple process to provide peace of mind. So setting this stuff up is drop dead easy. And the Find My services can increase the chances of locating lost devices, prevent unauthorized access to personal data, and keep track of the whereabouts of your family members for safety reasons. Okay, so now we go references. I've got, 11, 12 things that are going to be emailed out to you. The first one is a paper that says Apple Find My services, and it's all of the stuff in the presentation, plus all the verbiage that I didn't want to put in. Okay. Items 1 through 99, those are all Apple support documents. So I went on to Apple support, it was like last week, so it's all fresh. And these are the topics that are there. Find My official Apple support, so that's like the homepage for the Find My services. How to set up Find My on your Apple iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, or Mac. How to use the Find My app to locate a missing device or item. iCloud Web, Find Me demo, which is what I'm going to do next. If Find My is offline or not working. if your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch is lost or stolen, how to find your lost AirPods. If your Apple Watch is lost or stolen, if your Mac is lost or stolen, find people and share your location. Keep track of personal items using Find My, and last but not least, if you forgot your Apple password. So those are all PDFs, full-blown Apple support articles. They got the screenshots, they got the walkthroughs, everything you need to be able to collect your own fish. So what we're going to do then is take questions, and then I'm going to do demo. George?
You said you can use iCloud to use that capability.
iCloud.com. I go to iCloud.com, I log in with my Apple ID, and it will show me my devices if I go to the Find Me button. And I'm going to do that live.
I was also told that Google has a similar capability. I don't know how that works.
Google does, but it's not as, yeah. The other thing you can do is, if you've got an iPhone on you, on your home page, there should be a little thing that says Find My, and if you just tap that, since this is already linked to an Apple ID, it will show you what devices you have. So you'll have like 4 little buttons at the bottom. The first one is People. So it shows what people are allowed to see where you are. So on my iPhone, it's telling me that Carol Herrick can track me. If I tap on the device button, a whole bunch of devices come up, and since Carol and I are in a family group, it shows me her devices and my devices, and whether they're online or not. And then there's another thing that's for items, that would be the AirTag stuff that you do. And then last but not least, you tap the Me button, and it gives you your location. And it tells you which device is tracking you at your location.
Where did you see this on your phone?
It's in the Find My app.
In the Find My app? Okay.
Yep.
Go into Find My app, and then you'll see all that you just described.
And if I take my Apple Watch and I hit the stem and I go down here, I've got 3 things. I've got to find devices, find items, and find people. Because it's a watch, they take those 3 functions and they split them up into separate watch apps. And if I go to an iPad, I'll find there's a Find Me app. If I go onto a modern Mac running, I think it's Big Sur and above, there's a Find My app. It may be Monterey and above.
It's Monterey, I think.
Monterey and above. There's a Find My app that's on that device that'll let you do this. So what I'm going to do now, if everybody's comfortable with that. Yes?
There are some nefarious people out there that are using AirTags for bad reasons. So if you get a alert on your phone saying there's an AirTag following you,
Yeah.
you can have it give off. I haven't done this, but
I've done this.
you can have it give off a sound.
Yeah.
But those nefarious people have already started to modify AirTags and disconnecting the little speakers
Yeah.
from it. So be aware that you can still know that you're being tracked, but it makes it harder to find where they have them. So they have little vaults that have magnetic connections that could attach it to the chassis of your car or your, things like that. So.
But I think you can use the track, in the Find My app, the AirTag particular, if you use the Find It, I mean, it's really good at taking you right to the device. It draws a little arrow on the screen, and then it shows you right where it's at. I mean, it points at it. It takes you right to the thing. So if you can't find it by audible, you can find it by location. It'll take you right to the device if you had to do that. When I take Teresa's car keys to use her vehicle sometimes, it tells me that Teresa's got an AirTag following me because her AirTag on her keychain. So I know that there are keychains in the car, because I already knew that, but if I wanted to, if I lost that key, I could find it. It's pretty cool how that works. But it is bad, people are using them to follow people. It's really sad, why people have to do that kind of stuff.
And for the record, I don't own any Apple AirTags, but if Rick tells me they're cool, I know they are. And if he tells me, wow, it's useful, it is.
I have one here if anybody hasn't
Especially
seen
for
one in
me,
person.
because I'm always losing my keys.
Okay. You don't have
Mine's on my key.
the new baby's tag.
Not yet.
They're good to put on your luggage.
Do these things have a battery in them?
Yeah, they do.
Can you
I
change
just haven't
that?
opened mine up.
On
It's
my-
a, it's a the same kind of battery you
If I
find in a watch.
misplace them,
Keys sell
I go in a
coin
panic,
battery.
I can find my keys. And believe me, we've done it several times.
Yeah, I've had to replace my
How
battery,
much
but I have.
does that
They're
tag cost?
about a year. They're
How much does this tag?
You can get a 4-pack for $99
Or
and one for
$29.90.
Yeah.
On the Apple Store?
At the Apple Store. You can get them on Amazon. too.
Mine personalized with
Okay,
my
I got a
initials.
dumb question. How do you charge them?
Yeah.
You don't charge,
You
it's
don't
got a
charge
lithium
them.
battery.
It's got battery.
It lasts for about a year, then you swap out the battery. It'll come up and tell you your battery's low, and then on the back, you just twist it.
So it's not one of these Apple, everything's sealed completely
No.
with
You can
glue.
replace
It's
the battery, it's a lithium, you remember what cell grid?
what do they use? CR2032?
12032. Here you go.
There it is, right there.
You'll never get, oh, he took it apart.
It's meant to be user serviceable. That is how one replaces the battery. I do want that back. You can check it out.
Yeah, okay, a CR2032.
Yeah, it's just
2032,
a
that's
standard
it.
2032, yeah.
Cool.
She's got a whole
What?
All right, now, just getting some,
We bought that separate. It came from, it's on the website, on their store, but,
Okay.
just getting control of the presentation again.
sorry. Bill. You got us excited.
In case you don't know, I really enjoy the people that come to these meetings, okay? Except for that one guy, and I won't say his name. All right, so this first thing I have up here, I'm gonna go through these reference materials real quick, is the Apple Find My Services feature, benefits and criticisms, and it's pretty long, and it's in a typical Catholic parochial school outline. So it's like, not Roman numeral 1 introduction, letter A, and then the stuff after it. So that's Apple Find My Services. That's that first document. This is the one if you forgot your Apple ID password. So it's this is from Apple support. This is fresh. This is new. It's got all of those things that you need to know if you forgot your Apple password, and these are PDFs, and it's got hot links. So if you click on a blue item in here, it'll take you to that place on the Apple website. Keep track of personal items using Find My. This is if you're using AirTags. Find people and share your location. Again, this is if you're in a family sharing plan or you've given them permission to do that. If your Mac is lost or stolen, if your Apple Watch is lost or stolen, find your lost AirPods. If your iPad, stolen. If it's not working, if Find My is offline or not working, how to use Find My app to locate a missing device or item. And there it's showing you the AirTag attached to a key, an iPhone, etc. Setup, this is how you do your setup on the various devices so that they can use the Find My services. And this is the one that would be like the home page for Find My support.
Now scroll back up.
Sure.
That is the picture of it actually locating the device using the phone. That arrow is actually what comes up on the screen, and it shows you which direction to go to find your device. It's
I
pretty cool.
told Apple engineers it should say warmer, colder. They said no, because
went with
they
the
have to translate it into too many languages, so they were going to use a bliss symbol and arrow. Yeah. But it'll actually, it's like,
Yeah.
which way is it? Okay, turn the phone, oh, it's that way. That's if you're
They can
using
change the color of
AirTags.
the air depending on how close you are to the device.
Yeah. Okay, so this first one that says set up Find My, that's the link that takes you to the PDF that I'm sending to you anyway. And the next one, which is use Find My app, and if my Find My is offline, and what to do with your various devices, and what about AirTags, and what about friends and family. Okay, the one that I didn't send you as a PDF is because it's a link to iCloud.com, the website. So what I'm going to do right now is sign in. I'm using a web browser. The web browsers that work with iCloud.com, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Brave, Vivaldi, Firefox. The only one I know for sure that doesn't work with it is Tor browser because it's using a Tor onion network that's, secure stuff. So I'm about to log in to find my devices. So to do this, I have to sign in with my Apple ID. And here I'm going to sign in with a different Apple ID. Did you ever wonder why when you go to put in your passwords, all you see is the black dots? That's this sort of situation. So I just typed in my Apple ID and now I'm going to put in my password. So instead of having my password recorded and put on YouTube where literally millions of people could see it and then do nasty things to me, excuse me, I made a mistake. I put in my middle initials and that's not in mine. And so let's do this again. Okay, so we're securely signing in, and my watch just told me that somebody just requested to sign into iCloud with my Apple ID. And I'm going to say, no, don't save that password. And so what I've got here right now is a map, and it's showing a green dot, and it's showing, it looks like it's a Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Okay, so let's click on the thing up here, all devices, and we see, okay, so the green dots, that's Bill's Apple Watch, Bill's iPhone. Let's scroll down here and see what other devices we got. Yeah, let's do Bill's iPhone. All right, so now we're using the iCloud website. I could be doing this from a Find My app, okay? And I have the choices of play a sound. I use that a lot. Okay, so we're gonna, here's my phone.
Yeah.
It's telling me, hey, okay, and it would normally keep ringing for a while, which would allow you to locate where that phone was. Another thing you can do is you can put it in lost mode. You put it in lost mode, you put in a phone number that you want people to call if they find the device. So let's say it's an iPad, something with a screen, an iPhone, or it's an iPod Touch. When they turn it on, they don't get the home screen, they just get that screen with the phone number. And I'll say something to the effect of, this device is lost, please call, and it's the number that you gave them. Now, I'm going to cancel that because I don't want to do that. And then this third choice is erase iPhone. So the phone is lost, you're not confident of getting it back, you want to make sure the data's erased on it, you can erase it remotely. So let's go back up here. Let's try all devices.
And that must be a judgment call, because if you still think there's a possibility of somebody who's honest and trying to get back to you is gonna try to call you back, you've defeated that capability once you erase.
You've erased the data, but you haven't erased the ownership.
Oh.
So let's
How do you
say,
get to Yeah, I know what you're saying.
you're a radiologist and you have x-rays on your phone. It's HIPAA data. That's a federal rap. You want to make sure that stuff gets wiped. So it's wiped from the device, but it's not wiped from your iCloud storage.
But if somebody wants to get back to you, is there anything that remains on the phone that they can use?
Yeah, they get that notification on the
I
front.
forgot about that.
All right. Now, you'll notice that I'm looking at all the devices.
Now,
So if I,
did you have to put those devices on the cloud, or did that happen automatically?
if you have an iPhone or an iPad, it has to be linked to an Apple ID.
So I do have those on.
And if location services are turned on, and I've got Find My turned on, it's a setting,
Choices then.
the device will show up here. With my wife, when I click on all devices, it's going to show me my devices first, but then if I scroll down farther, it's going to show my wife's devices. So let's see. I'm going to be. I'm going to click and say, all right. So there, Carol Herrick iPod. All right. Now, if I didn't want to be married anymore, I would click on that play sound, lost mode, all those various things. But since, I'm coming up on 50 years of marriage in June, I'm not going to click any of those buttons. Now, you'll notice that even though let's click on that one. Yeah. At the bottom in gray, it says Carol is not sharing the location of this Mac. So we're looking at one of her computers. She has location services turned on, but she has Find Me turned off. All right, so you do have that option. You can still be getting your weather alerts. Your phone knows that you're in Xenia and it's not, or better yet, your phone knows you're in Centerville and it's not a good day. The tornado sirens are going off. If your phone knows you're in Centerville, your weather alerts will come in and warn you. But you can have Find Me turned off. So you have control over this. Back up here. And
Yeah. That, says that, is it you are.
Hey, Bill, can I make a add in here? Can I add one thing in?
yes, absolutely.
One of the coolest things I think that I use all the time with the Find My app is, if I take my iPad, a lot of times I take it to the gym with me, and when I'm on the elliptical, I put it up on the stand so I can read stuff while I'm pedaling away. If I walk out of the gym without the iPad to go get in the car, and I forget to leave the iPad upstairs on the thing, my watch comes up and says, you left your iPad behind. It tells me where it's at. Now, sometimes I get a little further away. I don't know how fast it figures that out. Every so often, I'll get in the car and drive down the street about a block, and then it says, you left your iPad behind and have to turn around and go back. But the fact that it knows you left it somewhere, now you can tell it, that's a safe location, don't tell me about that anymore. So you can do that for home or someplace like that. Say, well, it's okay if I leave it behind at home, but it's not okay if I leave it behind at the gym.
Yeah.
So that notification is really powerful. It'll tell you on your phone, it'll tell you on your watch, it'll tell you on whatever device you want it to tell you, but it comes up and tells you that you left something behind. It's on that network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I leave the house,
I get 4 blocks away and it tells me that I don't have my air with me.
You can
So,
tell you the air's,
There is a way I
you can
can
tell if the
turn-
air's at a safe location.
Because it's at home.
Not to let me know anymore.
Okay, I'll look.
Home is okay, it's there.
Thank you.
Those PDFs we're emailing to you. It's
That will
in
tell
there.
me how to
It's
do it.
in there. Okay.
A lot of them, read through there.
Okay.
How do you determine that somebody hasn't, or if somebody has put an air tag on you that you don't know about?
It tells you.
Somebody's trying to track you, or
It tells you.
what tells you?
Your phone, whatever you got with you that told you, you know, that you're, you know, like if I
It's
take.
not your air tag, though. It's gonna
That's
tell
fine.
you
It
somebody.
says, if I take her air tag and I go out and start driving down the road, my phone is gonna come up and say, Teresa put an air tag on you. Just that simple. It says, there's an air tag on you, it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to Teresa.
It says it's
Cartwright,
traveling.
And it's traveling with you. It tells, that's what it says.
It'll tell you that without
It tells
you
you
having
that-
to take any action.
Well, it's just telling me I better do something if I want it.
well-
I usually don't take any action because I trust her. But if I didn't trust her, I'd pull off the side
But I
of the
mean, as
road.
far as getting the notification on the phone, you don't have to say scan for
No, it's automatic.
unauthorized.
It's automatic.
Now, this was not something that Apple originally had.
It was added in.
Yeah, so Apple is, of the big tech companies, Apple is the only one that I feel comfortable with my data. I'll just put it that way. When I was still doing consulting work with companies in the Eurozone, if I was going to work with their stuff and communicate with them, I was no longer allowed to use a Google email. I was no longer allowed to use Hotmail or Outlook. They preferred that I use something like Proton Mail, but they were okay if I was using Apple iCloud, an Apple iCloud email address. That told me a lot right there. Okay. So the thing that I want you to take away from this is, wow, this stuff is really neat, really cool. Yeah, there's this good side of being able to track somebody and a bad side of being able to track somebody. But Apple at least is proactive enough to realize when something isn't being used for the social good the way they thought it was, and they'll modify how that stuff works. So this is early days for the AirTags and that.
Well, there's been on the market, I just was mentioning, Tile has been on the market for a long time. They're another company that does something like this. They've done it for a lot longer than
Yeah.
Apple. They never went to the extent that Apple did.
Yeah.
So, you know, they were way behind. They just implemented the change. I don't know if you remember the change. They just made the change to try to start moving in the right direction. But if you put a Tile device, like put a Tile device on anybody in here, you wouldn't know it. It's not going to come up and tell you.
Yeah.
And I could track you.
Yes, Chuck.
If you are searching for your wife on Find My,
Yeah.
does she know it? Does it come up on her phone and say, you tracked me?
No.
My wife has turned off, my wife turns off location services and Find Me services on all of her devices. She doesn't want, it's her personal choice. She does not want anyone to track her.
But you can't see her then where she is. If you go to Find My and say,
That's correct.
My
That's
wife
correct.
leaves hers on, and I track her all the time.
And I track him.
And she tracks me. When we're gone, we want to know.
And my grandkids, when I'm supposed to be coming over to their house, they track me too.
Now,
Now,
when you go in, you can, I can go
Because
in.
you allow
does your
that.
phone tell
Yeah,
you?
we allow it.
Share with them.
there
Does your
is a
phone tell you that
workaround.
somebody did that?
If all of this stuff is protected by an Apple ID, if I know her Apple ID login and password, I could log into a iCloud.com as her, and it would then show those certain devices. I think the only one she has it turned on is her phone.
There is a service in the Find My. I can, for example, my son lives down in West, where does he live? He lives down near Cincinnati. if he gets, if
The
I wanna know
retail
when he's gonna, like, if they're coming up for Christmas sometimes, I'll go into the Find My app and tell the things, tell me when he leaves his house.
Wow.
I can say, tell me when he leaves, and it's a little radius around his dot, says when he leaves this radius, tell me he's on his way. I like to use that, but the thing is, it tells him that I'm gonna do that. It tells him, Rick Cartwright is tracking your location. So that case, it tells him. But it's just kinda cool, because then I know when to prepare, because I know they're always late. So I know they're gonna be late, so I just wanna know when they leave.
It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, it's my understanding there's one way where Apple will tell others where you are without your permission, and that's if the crash alert
Oh, yeah.
has gone off on your phone, your watch. It will tell first responders where that phone is, where that watch is.
And there's lots of stories of that, it's been that.
Yeah. You know, there's the story about, I don't know how many of you know a financial commentator, his name's Jim Cramer, but he was doing squash or pickleball, I forget what it was, and apparently he was really going at it because all of a sudden, there were
They thought he had an accident.
because he was so busy concentrating on what he was doing that he didn't realize that his watch had said, hey, yeah, you know, he's in a crash.
It also doesn't like you to start your chainsaw.
Fall detection does.
Well, fire Husqvarna.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't hit those cheap ones, you
The
know.
chainsaw started, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden, boom, 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 you know.
Yeah, but did you get a
Okay.
crash, did you get a crash warning or just have you
It
fallen?
could have been a fall
Have you
detection.
fallen?
Yeah,
Yeah, fall detection.
No, I'm okay.
yeah. That worries me sometimes. I go,
So what
have I
activated
fallen?
the
No,
fiscal
no, I'm
movement?
still good.
It's
Yeah,
got a,
chainsaw-
it's it's a fall,
your
you
hand
know,
is-
it's the same motion.
Acceleration.
Okay.
My hand
Accelerometer,
is,
yeah.
Jerky.
the acceleration of my hand.
Okay,
when
I don't
stop.
hear any other questions about the presentation, so now I'm going to tell you something else. Okay?
Yeah.
The presentation in that first document that we're sending you, the one that's Apple services and such. Yeah, let me get there real quick. I got it. This one. This document, all that verbiage was created with an AI. It was not ChatGPT, it was another one.
You guys
And
started
the
last night.
I've
presentation,
been using Bing a lot because it's
Was
more
given
advanced.
by a deep fake.
Restricted the limits, relaxed the limits.
You asked for it.
but this presentation, again, it was an AI, I gave it the outline, he created slides and started putting pictures on it based on the verbiage and then I added text later.
We don't need him anymore.
I know.
And if there's one thing, I mean, my presentations never look that pretty, you know?
Wow.
Okay, so both of those were created by artificial intelligence. Last thing that I want you to take away from it.
All of my presentations are artificial.
Have no intelligence.
They're just artificial. They're not intelligent, they're just artificial.
Anyway, but what I want you to take away from this, though, is when I read the boilerplate that was generated, some things popped up that didn't make sense to me, like you can use Find My Services to track your HomePod, which is another thing that Apple makes. Well, that's not quite true. It's not, you know, it's not like you're tracking an AirTag. They had things about, you know, what versions of software work with Find My. Well, some of that was wrong. And the most glaring error, it didn't know about the Mac Studio, which is why it didn't have it on the list of devices. And I didn't catch that one. So while you're going to hear over the next couple months, this is with AI, you know, it's like, oh, Cheerios, new and improved with AI.
I didn't know Cheerios.
There are certain applications that are good, but a lot of it is just going to be, you know, they're fluff. They're just marketing. Yes, Bill Howe.
If you want to know everything you need to know about ChatGPT, watch the latest version of South Park. It explains everything, and it's hilarious. But seriously, tune it in, and you'll know all what ChatGPT is all about.
Okay, I have a question. I've never really watched South Park. Is it Canadian or Minnesota?
It's, they make fun
I
of
mean,
Canada.
are those kids in that, are they in Canada?
They're
or
in
are
Colorado.
No, they reference Canada. Matter of fact,
make fun
the
of Canada.
previous episode was
Yeah,
about
that's what it is.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
Oh, okay,
being
yeah.
prince of
Okay,
Canada.
So it's the Dominion.
They're ruthless, but no, it's in America. South Park's in Colorado. But if you want to know about this Chat GPT,
Okay.
I will say,
it's amazing how explanatory it is.
and to counter that, sort of a counterbalance, if you're gonna read one little more academic thing, just one shot, you wanna read one thing, Stephen Wolfram, who makes Mathematica and Wolfram Research, has an article called What is ChatGPT? And it is a pretty good, if you're just gonna read one article, that's a little more highbrow than South Park, but is relatively digestible and is well balanced on his opinions on what's going on. There's actually there's a lot of people arguing about what's going on. Just if you'll indulge me a second here, the behavior that ChatGPT 3.3 and 3.5 is exhibiting that makes ChatGPT is emergent. It wasn't predicted. So when they designed it, they didn't, the research was not into create a chatbot. The research was to create something that could summarize and do some other functionality. They noticed that when they were interacting with it, it could respond to grammatically correct behavior and then turn that into a product. So there's a lot of discussion about what's actually happening inside the models. There's a reductionist belief that nothing's really happening, that it's just a random parroting. But there's also models, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but they've done some really cool stuff to look inside and seen that it actually develops in its training models for representing heuristically what's happening in the real world. So for example, you'll notice ChatGPT can kind of do math, but it's not great. But the fact it can do math at all is actually because it developed a model of what math is without being told it explicitly.
Yeah.
And that's the same way generating code, generating poems. There's an algorithm to a poem. You don't really think about it. It's got to rhyme. It's got to have this meter. It's got to have whatever. And, it wasn't explicitly told what a poem is, but seeing enough poems, it develops these internal representations. And we're still unraveling it.
Have you used a AI to vet code, computer code?
I have used ChatGPT to generate SQL code that I haven't used it a lot. I have a friend at work who's using it like hog wild. Yes, SQL
Okay.
commands. So I asked it to write a SQL command to do something very specific, and the first iteration of it was incorrect, but then I said, I don't think that's right. And that's one of the interesting thing about ChatGPT and these models is you can either correct them or follow up. And I said, that's not quite right.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, how about this? And then it was right. So it took a little bit of tweaking.
I took some AppleSoft basic programs that were published in Creative Computing last century.
Yeah, I love it.
And I had a AI engine vet them. And it spotted stuff and corrected code.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But see, it had.
So then I took some Python scripts.
Yeah.
And I thought this thing was really as sparse as it could be, and it made it better.
It's good for generating chunks of algorithms as opposed to like a whole program. It's really good to saying, I need to go from A to B.
It's not creating the program, it's just looking for syntax errors.
Yeah, in that case, yes, you're scanning it. I'm saying that like if you're working on something in Python and you're like, I need to get, I can get from A to Z, but like D to E, I'm kind of breaking down to like how to whatever. It can generate code that kind of sometimes hits a home run and sometimes is just helpful, and then you kind of run with it a little bit. I've been using a lot Bing, so what Microsoft did is they took a newer model version of ChatGPT, which is ChatGPT 4-ish, and they also fused it with the Bing search. And that's really interesting because ChatGPT can't reach the internet in real time, but Bing can. So you can ask it for comments about the bank failure, and it'll interpret it. I've been doing all kinds of stuff with that, and I found it's a little more conversational. I find ChatGPT now to be a little wooden. But like, we've only had this stuff for 3 months, and we're already seeing, and if for those of here who are academics and like this kind of stuff, you cannot, they're tripping over themselves to write papers about it. There's just, I can't, I don't even want to bore everybody, but there's so many
It's
papers
like,
being written.
We're still, to use the internet metaphor, we're still doing Gopher.
Yeah.
And somebody's has in their head what a World Wide Web would be.
We're about to see a real .com boom and bust type moment where people try to build it into everything and then discover what it can or can't do.
Yeah.
And we don't know. The problem, someone mentioned about it being wrong all the time or being dangerously wrong, or like you mentioned it being wrong. That is called factuality is the term for that. And the factuality can be measured on an index.
But this was wrong by omission and commission. So it had
Yes.
facts wrong and it omitted things that it didn't know about.
But you can bet your butt that there is a lot of money being thrown in real time at measuring that factuality and increasing it. So there's ways to solve that beast. I just read a paper the other day where they were trying to introduce a feature into the model where it had a confidence index of its answers. So it could say, all right, I'm not 100% on here, it's not binary, I'm like 90 or 80, and it will introduce a thing where it says, I'm not sure of this. I mean, and we're just a couple months in and we're already talking about these kind of things. So it's a very exciting time. And then you have people who've been studying artificial. Noam Chomsky wrote an editorial in the New York Times coming out as a reductionist and saying, this is not doing what you think it's doing. The work we've been doing for 50 years about looking at linguistics and looking at language is good and this is bad and statistics is bad. So there's a bit of a war between the old and new guard in the AI.
Yeah. The question to ask yourself is this a tool I can use that will make my life better? It's just like, I open up my toolbox and my youngest son goes, why do you have so many different hammers? Well, he doesn't understand. You use a ball peen for this, you use an electrician's hammer for this, a carpenter hammer for this. He doesn't understand because that's not part of his life. He doesn't need those tools. He's using other tools. So that's the thing to ask yourself. Is this a tool that I can use to make my life better, or is it just, oh yeah, it's a ball peen hammer, but I don't do anything where I need a ball peen hammer.
And that's what the criminals and the drug dealers and all those are also asking themselves right now too.
Well, actually, they're asking
They're going to probably perfect it faster than those who want to use it for good.
Certainly disinformation.
Society's good.
When I started to do the last CTO gig I had, I was talking with someone who's located not in the U.S., and they're south of North America. And I found out to my surprise that the major cartels, drug cartels, have chief technology officers. Just like they have armorers to keep the weapons running, and they have the people that, procure the people, to smuggle the drugs. They've got CTOs, and they've got sysadmins, and I'm going like, whoa.
Is that a surprise?
Yeah, it just, my mind hadn't been there before, and then I went, oh, okay, yeah, big business is big business. And it runs on IBM.
Hey, one last thing on ChatGPT is that I talked to a lot of people about it. People don't realize that it is freely open and still taking signups. If you just Google, how do I use ChatGPT, you can log in and create an account and be using it within 30 seconds.
Yeah, open.ai, and if you've got a Google Gmail account, you can just say connect with Google and it'll log in.
Yeah, I got my wife on it in 30 seconds, and my wife, who's a social worker, I got her on, it took a minute and a half. She has a battery of questions she has to ask about a certain scenario, and she put them in and said, what are some other questions I'm missing here?
Yeah.
And it suggested a couple, and then she started iterating on that. So even a social worker, you don't think of them as high tech necessarily, was able to use it for productivity reasons already, first day one. So.
Yeah. But when I first used ChatGPT to do an outline on a topic, I kept thinking, Sister Charlotte, you know, 6th grade, St. Monica's Catholic school, you do your outline first. And I said, I always hate doing outlines. So I said, ChatGPT, give me an outline on, and I gave it a topic, and it did a boom, 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 boom. And I go, okay, outline's done, now I can start filling in the stuff. But I do the stuff. It does the outline because I don't like doing outlines. And it's, you know, it's scut work. Okay, with that said, yes,
One last thing, I got an email from Norton saying that AT&T had a data breach, I think it was back in January.
who did?
AT&T,
That would not surprise me.
so if anybody uses AT&T, you might want to change your passwords.
I'll let you,
Yeah, what about, you know, should I change my bank account number? Because, you know, no, probably not, yeah.
Probably not, no.
So, okay, anybody have one last thing they want to do before we adjourn? Going once, going twice. I'm going to say we're officially adjourned.
Thank you.
See you next month.